Hey there, rulers. Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to the Teacher's Lounge, your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast featuring myself. And as always, I'm joined by Ryan Miles. Oh, wait, he's not here today. I got Brandon Bream. Oh, wait, he's not here today either. I got Derek. Oh, wait, nope, Derek's working. I got Crack Packin' Patton. Oh, wait, nope, he can't join us anymore. I guess I have Mike. I have Mike Rance.
That's me. Hi.
Hi. So with that, we're gonna be having just a chilled night tonight. I put out a call earlier today to the Facebook community for some questions, and it was just gonna be Mike and I tonight. So we figured we'd have some fun, a little bit of AMA. If you haven't already noticed, for those of you who are watching, the chat tonight is completely free. If you are not a member, you are more than welcome to join into the chat and ask us anything. We will. Sorry, let me put that differently. Ask us anything in the vein of like the channel, Force of Will, like that realm. Anything personal life, we won't guarantee that we're going to answer because, again, our personal lives are all life. Mike might keep it PG as best as you can.
13.
PG-13. Well, I'll concede that. However, while you're participating in the chat tonight, if you do like what we're doing and you want to consider being part of the chat full-time and other things not like this, you can click that little join button down below and start your curriculum here at Ruler School by becoming a member. It is the easiest way to support the channel financially. It is approximately equivalent to, if you join at the $2 a month level, approximately equivalent to watching about 400 of our videos every single month in terms of the ad revenue that we would generate from you watching. So obviously watching is great and the content will always be free here on the channel, but if you want to get those access to those cool perks like our emotes and everything else that you have in the chat, please consider joining us as members.
I did it.
Mike did it. So,
and I'm on here anyway, so I have no excuse to do it, but you have no excuse not to do it because I'm here and you're there.
Yeah. So tonight we're going to be talking about a few things. I do have the conversations that have been pulled up by the chat or the people in the Facebook community, but I also want to talk about spoilers a lot. Tonight we haven't done a spoiler video in a long time. We've got several weeks of them that we can go through pretty quickly, just like quick, snappy impressions on a few with some of the more nuanced new ones that I think we're going to be talking about a little bit more. But throughout that, as we talk about it and pull them up here on screen, please consider to drop those questions in the chat box and we will get to it. So, Mike, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
Here we go. Our first one is the World of Dark Alice. This is our 3-drop quick cast mage art modal that we get to choose 2 light crystals, 2 darkness crystals, draw a card, or banishes a regalia your control, get a darkness regalia to your hand, or interdimensional escape as one of your modes. Quick thoughts. This is a super rare spell, pretty impactful. My thought is I love having the interdimensional escape effect back, especially since it's banish. This is a really, really nice potential answer to Arla as well, just as a spell, because, you know, you can wait till they got art and then you go, okay, well, pay 3, pick one of them to keep. They're probably going to keep the Eternal one anyway, because it's the one that's most likely to survive, and then you can just answer it with a bounce spell. So I think this is a really great card.
Yep, I'm in pretty much in agreement there. We haven't seen many really good board clears. Like, most of the time people just kind of default to Perfect Loki because, you know, it's disgusting. But once that rotates out, there was really no full counterplay to Arla, if you want to put that into perspective. But this is definitely really nice to see. Would have been nice to see International Escape reprinted as a mage art, probably, but having 2 of them available is really nice. And this one being kind of locked to Dark Alice in a sense because of the mana. It's
kind of, but we have seen Heaven's Rift come back, which means we have black-white as a stone. So at this point in time, you really can kind of splash into whatever kind of color combinations you want. So it's not particularly locked out. Obviously, your rulers that can use their regalia to produce black or white in some way for mage arts are going to be better suited for this. So that's Valentina, Lenneth, and Rezard and Dark Alice. Those are the ones that are obviously most suited for this. But I think even beyond that, considering the fact that players up to this point have been sideboarding the card Boersma, which is the Ghost in the Shell dive board wipe for 3 or less, that costs 4. Like, this costs 3. So, like, I think we'll probably see Boersma probably phased out.
Especially after Kaguya rotates.
Yes.
Because this thing being counterable by Kaguya is bad, Boersma is not. Big difference.
That is correct. Next card. We're not going to talk about Schrodinger. We've already seen that talked about a lot. I do, however, want to jump to. We're not going to talk about the regalia because it's pretty cut and dry.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the best aesthetic, which is the card soldiers. We're going to start with Shadow X, aka Mini Vlad. Thoughts?
I think this might be like sneaky, probably one of the best cards in the set. It's
absolutely.
It's like at its face value, it's a miscalc on a body. So, well, miscalc.
Except it doesn't hit flyers, but yeah, I hear what you're talking about.
Yeah, but it also hits J rulers, so
not bad.
Yep, but it's really, really important because if everybody in this chat who watched our video on proactive versus reactive, this card is probably one of the best examples I could think of a proactive and reactive card. Reactively, it destroys something by flashing it in. If they play quick cast removal, they just play quick cast removal on a 1-drop. So you're already going out ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
But if not, and you just play it and they don't have an answer for it because they're like, I'm not going to answer a 1-drop, you're representing 8 damage on board immediately plus more. Like,
yeah,
that's
absolutely
really good. And they still have to deal with something that's really difficult to interact with.
The biggest piece I think that's going to determine whether this card truly hits that like sneaky best card in the set is how much Dark Alice is really going to be wanting to be spending her darkness crystals for cards that we haven't seen yet, right? So we've already seen that the Card Soldier package has a pretty good amount of crystal generation, as well as her enter, like when you see it, and we've got like the spell that generates them. So we've seen that there's already a good amount of like spread out across the board crystal generation. The question becomes how many of these cards are going to be wanting to be spending them, right? So like how comfortable is it going to be for you to really stockpile these? Now, ultimately, if you get down to having 1,000 life and you have 5 like the longer the game goes on, right? Technically, the fewer you have to have stockpiled, which is what really like obviously has us looking at this card in this way. But we really need to take a look at that. We're in an era where resonator damage in certain matchups can actually be hard to push through because we have a lot of like combo interaction and blocking, and like combat's actually pretty heavily a thing right now. And I think it becomes more so with the stuff that we've seen in this set. So it'll be interesting to see how this card like finds its way to the end game. I think that'll be the biggest
another big thing about this card. Another huge thing about this card is that it's a fairy tale.
Yep.
So if we're talking about legacy support going into like older sets, me playing Wanderer and being on the Conqueror Council, am I gonna make a mid-range deck for Grim that just happens to be able to discard a card, pay 1, search the set, and play it at instant speed for free miscalcs by accident? Sure I am.
Yeah.
Who's gonna stop me?
Absolutely.
Are you?
No, I'm not.
Good.
So the follow-up to this is Mage Jack. He's the light side. Also having quick cast gives us our Drain. Force of Will loves the ramming mechanic of Drain Bane, so they always are somehow connected, whether on the same card or on card opposites. So nothing really to shake home about. He's just the opposite. Obviously, Shadow Jack is probably the more impactful for closing out games, but Shadow Jack could definitely be a tech card that we could see Dark Alice decks.
Excuse me, Shadow X, not Shadow Jack.
Sorry, Shadow X, Mage Jack.
The X means 10. It's
I know, I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
So Mage Jack is definitely a card that I could see finding its way into the sideboards of Dark Alice's. I think they probably play at least 1 copy, 2 copies, because if they're playing this package because they want to play Royal Straight Flush, but we'll get there. But I think you'll start to see more copies of it if super aggressive decks come into the gameplay and Dark Alice needs a chance to be able to stabilize. Like this card naturally says like, oh, cool, I have a quick cast, stop and attack, gain 4 that also technically is gain 8 on a body for 1 will at quick cast speed, right? So like that's pretty good if you're playing against an aggressive deck. The other thing that's really interesting is we'll talk about it later. Both of these cards, unfortunately, that neither of them have flying. If they did, they would be excellent counters to the new Sylvia, because you just let Sylvia.
They'd also be even grosser than they are,
right?
But
so I'm glad they don't. But I think both of these cards definitely see some play. I think that Shadow X definitely has a more prominent staple position as a 4 of in Dark Alice decks, whereas this card can see like a 1 or 2 copy just so you can pull off Royal Straight Flush. Again, if you're playing that full package, and then we definitely see this card in the sideboard. I think we might even see this card in the sideboard of decks that aren't Dark Alice that are white because of the fact that he generates 2 of his own light crystals, right? So it's just like pay 1, put a body on, stop a block, gain 8 life. Like that to me seems really, really good, even outside of Dark Alice.
It's almost as good as Whispers of an Angel.
Almost as good. I might consider it as good, but we'll see. Because of the way combat works, it's a little bit tricky, right? Because with this card, you could end up ahead on life, whereas with Whispers of an Angel, if they attack for 8 and you just Whispers, you do 0. Whereas in this card, if you block, you take 0 damage and then gain 8. So you're actually gaining life. You're just not drawing a card off of it. Toss up.
Sorry, I just saw a comment in here. When is Umar banned? Umar's already banned in Conqueror.
In Conqueror format. Yep, in Conqueror format, that is banned.
Yeah, if you don't want to have fun, you play Wander and you get Umar comboed.
Yeah.
But whatever.
When is Sherry going to be unbanned in Conqueror format?
Big hot never.
There you go. I think
no functional erratas, and without functional erratas, guess where Sherry's going? In the ban.
I think you and I agreed that the only way you could possibly consider that card to come back is you'd have to ban it. You'd have to ban like Jin, Eva, Puppet Maker, like Last Audience, like a shit and Ruin.
Even
stories.
With that, I'm pretty sure she's still the best deck.
You're probably not wrong. But yeah, so let's talk about. You want to talk about King or Queen next?
We'll start with Queen because I have very important things to say about King.
Okay, sounds good. So we got Queen here. So it's a 4-drop Resonator. J Resonators your opponent controls gain -4/-4. Gotta love that negative stat effect, sitting there. Banish a dark crystal and discard this card. Target J Resonator gains -4/-4 until end of turn. Draw a card. This, combined with Royal Straight Flush and Dark Alice's God Art, is why I think this card will see play in Dark Alice effects. This is a single darkness crystal, which we already know she has the ease of being able to generate those by herself. And then no will for a -4/-4 and drawing and cycling. We are already using Pharesia to discard cards to do -4/-4, and she doesn't draw us a card. This card is the exact same concept, but it's also a body, and we also have a way to be able to bring it back with Dark Alice. I think
also going off of free triggers that give minus stats. Like, we've seen Fallen Angel of Fiery Vengeance be like a really, really good card.
Yes.
This is just that from hand.
It's less
with no life cost.
And it replaces itself.
Yeah.
This card's good. This card's
really good.
Card's absolutely going to see play, if only for the hand trap value. Dark Alice is probably going to play 3 copies of this card. Primarily because you want to be able to discard a couple, bring a couple back to your hand, or bring at least one back to your hand for Royal Straight Flush. But also it's a fairy tale, so like Dark Alice flips and can get this. So like Dark Alice, we're already seeing that Gil Lapis. So Gil Lapis's one-time God Art says J Resonators your opponent control gain -4/-4, right? So that means you have to pay will. Dark Alice gets to flip into essentially performing the exact same effect as long as she can keep this card on board. That is not insubstantial, and we'll see play in Dark Alice decks. Like, hey,
and you just play her in Gil Lapis and you just compound them even further.
Yeah, this card costs 4 for Gil Lapis. It's not going to happen. But
it's a 4-drop. It doesn't happen.
But for Dark Alice, you're definitely going to see this card, see that kind of play. Now we got everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite is the King of Kings. Same kind of thing. Other Fairy Tale Resonators you control gain +4/+4. So instead of, again, it's a lot of these give and takes, right? So bumps up the rest of the board. Banish himself, and he becomes a rapid growth for 1 light crystal. And that also cycles itself, right?
Yep.
Less so play, definitely could see this as being a Dark Alice flipping into this for a win more, kill the game kind of setup.
It's still sneaky damage. Like, that's
it's sneaky damage. Like, absolutely. So like, especially considering Dark Alice has the ability to pop boards. If your board is such that your Resonator costs are different than your opponent's and you can set it up properly, flipping your Dark Alice into this, giving your whole board a pump permanent as long as this guy survives, and then swing in. That's potential lethal. The thing that I'm seeing with Dark Alice a lot is this like tricky. like very trickiness, right? It's like up, down, left, right, sneaky. This card could be used this way, but I'm going to be used it this way. Oh, now this card's here, like that kind of thing. And I'm really about it. And other than the fact that King has the biggest chin,
the supreme chin, just putting that out there.
Yeah, I'm really loving it. I dig this aesthetic.
Deepwood is currently in the process of making the top 5 chins of Force of Will video. And King is in there.
And this is why I don't worry about you as content creators. I love you, buddy.
You wish you could put out content like us.
I really don't. I do want to talk about... We're not going to talk about the spells too much. I think the spells are kind of...
Well, first I wanted to refer to Todd so they print more pandas. Yes, it's called Alice Zeus Incarnate. You might have heard of it from last set. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, the pandas, crystals and gems are different. Although if you're a Steven Universe fan, you have the crystal gems, which are they always save the day.
They should have just made Alice produce gems so that we could have panda support,
random panda support. Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Pass. So let's talk about this guy, Nightmare Knight. Although I wish he was an ace. I wish they'd called him an ace somehow, or like ace in the hole.
No ace.
But he's clearly an ace, but no, he's Nightmare Knight.
No ace for you.
So the enter effect choose up to 2. Keep in mind that you cannot choose the same mode twice. It doesn't say pick an option 2 times. It says choose up to 2. The wording is different. Light Crystal is grab a Fairy Tale from the top 4 resonators of your deck, put it into your hand. That's nuts. Simply replacing himself. The second one is Banish a Darkness Crystal. If you do, target resonator gains -10/-10 until end of turn. And whenever another Fairy Tale resonator enters the field, you can return it back to his hand. So it's a tempo removal on a body that naturally replaces itself, and also you can reuse it multiple times on the same copy. This is a super rare. It's there for a reason. It's like
hot take. I think this is the worst of the Knight support.
I agree with you. I think that in terms of what the Knights are trying to do, it's a lot of like tricky hand stuff, and this is a 2-cost body that you have to like commit to at standard speed.
2-cost 6/6. Put something on the board. Not quick cast, so you have to like play it proactively, but you have effects that like the -10/-10 would be great at quick cast speed, but
it's also not bad. It's also not bad at that speed. Like the thing is, to me, is this card is probably almost always every time you cast it a +2 if you're using both modes, right? So like on a tempo body, a +2 ain't bad. I wish he hit J rulers. I also really wish he didn't, or I'm glad he doesn't hit J rulers, because like we want J rulers to be kind of sticky. So I think that was the smart decision. But I do like it as a card, and you know, not all of our super rares can be just like burst through the walls like amazing. But for what this card is trying to do, I think it is cool for that slot.
Yep.
I do want to talk about, in terms of the spells specifically, we're going to talk about Royal Straight Flush. Let me bring it up here. Royal Straight Flush, aka the reason why Dark Alice's God Art is so freaking weird. So Royal Straight Flush, 2-cost quick cast, Mage Art. I lost Mike. Mike, come on back to me, buddy. Destroy target resonator if this card was awakened. Destroy all non-Magic Stone entities your opponent controls, and put all cards revealed by this card into the field. So it says non-Magic Stone entities. That means we hit every edition, every resonator that doesn't have Eternal. Key point. Every J ruler and every Regalia that your opponent controls. So just like a complete. And you get to put all 5 of the Knights into the field. All 5 of the card soldiers into the field.
Yep.
That to me is crazy. And this is essentially just essentially takes Dark Alice's God Art and puts it into 2 parts, right?
Yep.
Which I think for what it does is the correct way to do that. The fact that it's like a complete full board wipe, gets rid of everything and puts 5 bodies into the field, all at 5 will at instant speed. Like,
and we're not even talking about the fact that like, at its worst, it's just a stoning to death. Right. Like, the card's fine. Yeah, like, Bloody Breaks I'll play in Melgus because, you know, hits J resonators, costs 2, pay for it with your Regalia. Happens. Yep. This is not quite the same, but with less immediate power, but more upside later on.
Yep. So let's go to. Let me jump over to. Let's talk
TCG
about.
Prime, I certainly hope it is.
Let's talk about. Oh, I don't really want to talk about the gambling, although the gambling is pretty neat. I do want to talk about. Oh, I forgot to grab the non-fuller version of this. My bad. Jeanne d'Arc, the heroine of Shadow, which is the. In your reading of this is saying light/dark, so you can only grab a card that's both.
Yep, makes sense.
Right, that's to me, because it doesn't say light or darkness card; it says light/dark.
Right.
So that's important to recognize that she is not a Percival for any light or dark card. She is a Percival for a light/dark. So two drops or higher, everybody. Pretty cool. And then you can banish this card, gain 2 crystals. Like, pretty cool. I dig it.
Oh, I just want to fetch Seth the Arbiter with her.
Oh
is
my
that too much to ask?
That's not too much to ask for the Wanderer. Like, bring me some Seth the Arbiter support. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man, that's what we're talking about.
And I do want to talk about, because I think it's important, Dark Alice's smile. Because we have Scorn of Dark Alice being reprinted, and we have Dark Alice's smile. So 1-drop non-quick cast mage art. Look at your opponent's hand, and get a chant edition edition, regalia, or stranger from among them, and RFG it. If this card was awakened instead, choose a card from your opponent's hand and remove it from the game instead. And the awakening is banish a dark crystal. Now, I really like this card. I think its design is absolutely perfect for the fact that if you're going first, you're not going to be able to potentially take away your opponent's first turn resonator, but you are potentially going to deal with your opponent's first turn regalia if you're on the play. So I think that's proper design, and the fact that it RFGs is really, really nice. I do like the fact that it takes time to be able to set it up to be able to hit resonators, which combos nicely with the fact that, like, right now, you don't really want to be discarding resonators anyway, because there's a chance that you could hit something like a Sigurd or something that's going to be reanimated by Resard anyway. So you have that option to kind of commit a little bit more to get some crystals to be able to make this happen, but you can't just right off the cuff say, I'm going to take your 1-drop resonator, gone. So I like it.
Yeah, I think it's good. I don't think that it has the raw power it needs to be a main deck card, but I think it's probably one of the best sideboard cards we'll ever see for black right now.
Absolutely agree with that.
Because, like, it's fairly dead against non-regalia decks. It's fairly dead if you're not really trying to get the dark crystal part of it.
Right.
But if you're facing off somebody like against Resard, it's just an auto include because you just yank their death sight and they can't return it back to hand.
Right, exactly.
Which is already great. But you just generally taking away the turn 1 with the coin option of pulling the regalia out is a big deal.
Matt Seymour, we love you too, dude. Thanks for the shout out. Thanks for the love. Thanks for joining us here tonight. We're having a good time, Mike. This is a good time. I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, after school hours, baby.
Hey, yeah. Everybody else is gone, so it's just you and me. So let's talk about, hot take. This card is unplayable outside of Gil Lapis. What card am I talking about, Mike?
Is it True Black Ribbon?
Nope. It's called World Ender. It's the Regalia.
Oh, you're skipping way ahead. Damn.
I'm jumping all over the place.
Can't keep him focused, guys. This is what I have to deal with.
It's revenge for everything you've ever done to me. So, World Ender here. I do want to talk about this because there has been a Dark Atlas doesn't start with dark crystals. She has to be able to play Regalia to get crystals. CCG Prime. So World Ender here. The main point of World Ender that I want to talk about here is the fact that it gives your J Ruler imperishable. There's been some debating in the community whether or not that means that it will see play in rulers outside of Gil Lapis. I will remind you that currently, as the time being, which is the entirety of Alice Origins Cluster, the only rulers that can see this card trigger are Gil Lapis, Dark Alice, and Resard. And I honestly don't think anyone outside of Gil Lapis or maybe Dark Alice cares about Imperishable at all. Like, it doesn't even want it.
Yeah.
because most of the time when as we've talked about in previous podcasts, the ruler design for AO 1, 2, and 3 was your ruler flips, it does its thing, it dies, you're actually happy that it's dead. So I think that this is really to boost up Gil Lapis so that you can kill him. He comes back, he gets another chance to do more God Arts, he gets another minion out, that kind of stuff, which is why he wants to be able to do that imperishable. But that's really all I want to say about that, unless you have anything else to add.
No, you pretty much covered it. I think the fact that it produces for Moon Arts and minions.
Oh, yep. and God Art abilities.
The fact that it produces for minions is kind of relevant just because we saw Lyneth today.
Yeah, which absolutely.
Is pretty solid of a card.
And we'll get
Not the best card in the world, but good.
We'll get to her.
And paying one for her is nice.
The other thing that's important to note for Gil Lapis is Gil Lapis has been given the Welser Adelbert treatment, which is that once he flips, he doesn't have his will filtering for his chosen race. So sorry that you flipped when you have all 4 of your Sylvias in hand. You can't cast them. So we'll have to see what the other minions do, but keep in mind that, you have to kind of plan your casting and stuff around it that way, which I also think speaks to the intricacies of Gil Lapis and the fact that he doesn't judgment for 0. Is that how, based on what's in your hand, how soon are you actively trying to flip this guy, right? Because how much do you want to make your hand dead?
Very much so. I want 4 Sylvias
in your hand. You want 4 dead Sylvias in your hand?
4 dead Sylvia in my hand with a flipped Gil Lapis. I want to make sure that happens.
That's what. Okay, you heard it here, folks. Mike Rance is going for 4 dead Sylvias in his hand with a flipped Gil Lapis. That's what he's going for. So You mentioned it. Let's go back up to it. We have the true Black Ribbon. Now, we've seen Black Ribbon before. That was the fake Black Ribbon. Now we have the true Black Ribbon. 1-drop edition. As you play this card, choose a Resonator. This card goes onto the field, added to the chosen target. The added target gains -2/-2 and loses all abilities. And when this card is put into a graveyard from the field, return it to its owner's hand. If it were not that last line of text is what gives me pause with this card.
My pause was probably about 0.5 seconds less than yours, because I think this card is hot poo poo garbo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in terms of competitive play, this card is at best a sideboard card. At best a sideboard card, right?
But Jeremy, you can fetch it with Sigurd,
and then it won't attach to anything because it's not an edition resonator. It hasn't been changed to be subtype edition resonator, and its typing says as you play this card, pick a target, not as this card enters, pick a target. If it said as this card enters, pick a target, it would be a much more valuable card as a potential Sigurd play if they inevitably ban Alter.
The good news is that when you play it off of Sigurd, it'll go to the graveyard, and then the effect will activate because it was swiped from the field to the graveyard, so it returns to the hand.
So your Sigurd recast became a draw 1 card. Value. That's a
+2, buddy.
That's what we really wanted off of that Sigurd. So I will say, though, it is cool to see this effect come back. If we do see a play, if we do see a drive with this set going back up to 30, the 36 pack boxes, if we do see a drive back for limited play, this is going to be a card that's going to be helpful in limited. Anytime you can shut down a problematic card, anytime you can have this kind of recursion to stat neg effects so your resonators can start winning trades again, is going to be helpful. Outside of that, though, I just don't think you're going to see this card outside of a sideboard. CCG Prime, what if it's reclassed like Necromancy? Probably isn't going to be reclassed like Necromancy, purely because of the fact that Necromancy was reclassed due to the fact that it was a reprint. That was pretty much 100% the reason why it was reclassed. This is a whole new card.
AOR Quez, saying World Ender could see play in Melgus. If Melgus is paying 2 mana for anything and it's not dealing immediate 10 damage to the opponent's face, it's not worth having in your deck. Correct. That's the final draw for that.
Pretty much. The fact that Melgus, Steven says it here too. If Melgus took the time to play a 2-mana do nothing instead of dealing damage to face, then Melgus has already lost the game. Or vice versa, Melgus has already won the game and didn't need to be spending that 2 mana on Worldender anyway.
Right. If you flip Melgus and you didn't win the game, what are you doing, bud?
Yeah. But like, by the time, again, if Melgus flips and dies, we've already talked about this before. And in fact, we've seen it in feature matches, both as well as during some of our tournament cat footage. If a Melgus player flips, you as the non-Melgus player are inclined to chump block the shit out of that Melgus and never attack it. Because
you do not get prejudgment, by the way. Melgus does not trigger off of darkness.
Yes, he only triggers off of fire.
Very important distinction.
Yeah, this is the big piece. So that's why Melgus was considering. That's why you were saying seeing the green, black, red Melguses playing Claw, like 1 or 2 copies of Claw, because of the fact that like they were playing a couple of beasts, so they could get a little bit of a bonus off of it, and then it would trigger Melgus because it would also like Regulus is a beast, right? So you could like or I guess there was no way for him to gain friendship counters because Priscia gave it to him, but it was another way for him to be able to like judgment quicker, because he could do that. With that is an interesting point. I do kind of want to get your opinion on this, Mike. Back to 36 count boxes. We're back to fuller pre-release kits in the sense of 2 36 count boxes instead of 3 60 count boxes within a pre-release kit, as we would imagine. Do we see a return to a drive to see more good limited play? I think 20-pack boxes with the size of the sets hindered limited play in terms of what you were seeing.
There were a lot of factors that hindered limited play with those boxes, actually.
Sure.
It was obviously the size of the boxes, size of the sets, the amount of cards that, especially for the first 2, had like Memorias and reprints were fine because they were reprints. Right. But Strangers taking up room was also a big deal. And there were a lot of the cards were just so grounded in synergistic picks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I noticed very quickly that like a lot, like playing the TCG Scrubs, live draft, which was great fun and everybody had a really good time with it. But the smaller packs meant that everybody was getting pretty samey decks. Everybody was playing black, green, white angels. Who had more
Seraphs?
I didn't. But I had 2 Lucifers and Mikage Game of Dreams. Mikage spell, whatever.
Yeah, the thing.
The thing.
So now we're back up to 36 packs, which and a much, much bigger set. And if you even look at the set that we have so far, there is a lot. While, yes, there are synergistic cards to the ruler, there are also a lot of standalone concepts that can see play inside a draft format. For instance, the fact that Shadow X and Mage Jack generate crystals on enter, right? So they naturally fuel themselves in a little bit in a limited format. You have the fact that you have something like Drew Black Ribbon. You have, all these other cards that like speak to that kind of concept. The other thing is too is a lot of the cards were just not good and limited. You're absolutely right, Trash Dingo. No basic rulers, Todd, to that point. That is correct. We haven't seen a draft ruler as of yet. There is the community created one, which to my opinion is absolutely perfect for this format. However,
or you just play Clockwork Magic Furnace.
Yeah, you don't play Clockwork Magic Furnace. But like, who knows to see if maybe they make one again. Like maybe they see that again. I think that'd be great. But like the community made one, what is it called? The Avatar of something.
Origin, I think was
Avatar of Origins. Or something.
I think
like
so.
That card or Arcana of Origins or something. That fan made one is absolutely perfect for limited play with Strangers, which is really really cool. So yeah, it's interesting to see that as we look at these cards, you see them as like, oh yeah, okay, this could be a card in limited, which is kind of cool to be thinking about again. I myself really really love doing a little bit of limited, and Alice Origins 4 comes out on my birthday weekend, so I will be probably trying to get a group of guys together to buy a box and do a little in-person draft for my birthday.
Stay 6 feet apart, bud.
Okay. I think we can do that in this space.
Yeah, you got some room.
I think I've got some space to be able to do that. Maybe we'll stream it. Birthday stream. Woo! That's something that YouTubers do to get money, right? Birthday streams?
Probably. If we want to do a joint birthday stream, I know mine's like, what, 10 days before yours?
Yeah, I don't know. When are you born?
August 13th.
So exactly 10 days before mine. Let's see. Let's jump into some Gil Lapis support. We haven't seen a ton of it. I don't want to talk about Schrodinger's Cry, because I think you and I have very differing opinions on Schrodinger's Cry.
I do. It's really good.
Card's really good. I think that's really all we have to say about it.
Really, really good.
Card's really, really good. I do want to talk about Black Percy is like the most pigeonholed Percy we've seen.
Yeah, this thing is
like literally should have just been Gil's Percy. Like it shouldn't have been a Percy for anybody else. It just gets either a minion or a regalia, and then banishes to put a minion back on top of your deck from the graveyard. This should have been.
Let's just talk about the thighs on this Percival, though.
We're not going to talk about the thighs on this Percival.
Top tier.
It's pretty top tier.
Top 5 thighs.
I do want to talk about. Actually, you know what a card I do want to talk about? I want to talk about the Cage of Mother Goose.
Interesting. All right.
So
heard you like your Seal of Lenneth to be slightly worse,
but also slightly not worse.
You're gonna say because it puts the thing into the hand.
No, I'm gonna say because it's a fairy tale, and so Dark Alice can cast it off of her regalia.
Sure.
I do like, and also the fact that it's potentially free, and we have a nice little card that's called Dark Alice. So there's a lot of value that you could potentially see off of an early cast of a Dark Alice Rabbit Princess with this card. Something to the effect of turn 1, energize in Dark Alice, draw, discard. You call your first stone, you tap the Dark Alice, play this, and RFG something off of their board. And then set up something like that. I think that's pretty good.
If this card was quick cast, it would have been better than Seal of Length. I think any card getting quick cast automatically makes it better than any other card in the same.
That's correct. I do like this card a lot. As a concept, I think the fact that it's also, I think Seal of Lenneth for us dropped off. The more we were seeing quick cast resonators kind of take over, and B, concerns about giving people enters.
And also this problem with people swarming.
Right.
Because we started seeing a lot more swarm decks recently, and those were big.
On Seal of Lenneth, that's a problem for that. Because then if they kill it and they just get their body back and they're still swarming you anyway, right? So the fact that this is like a pseudo time walk, but is also potentially free, I think I really like. The other thing is you think about Shadow X, you think about Mage Jack, flashing those guys in and then being able to use them as like a pseudo removal with this card. I also think is very, very nice. It's cool to kind of see a direct upgrade to Seal of Lenneth in this way. Again, how much are we going to see it being competitively played? Who knows? But it is cool to see them kind of rehash this idea in a upgraded / sideways fashion. Also, the artwork is dope. Can we just agree that the artwork for this set primarily has been like amazing?
This set's artwork is fantastic. This set has the cutest Schrodinger I've ever seen in my whole life, and this is just, it's perfect. It's all I wanted. Schrodinger's Cry, best artwork 2020.
Yeah. So let's talk about...
quickly, I wanted to go over one of the chat things. Michael Hackett said, why no more Strangers seems weird to me, because none of the rulers have Stranger decks.
That's not entirely true, because we just haven't... The follow-up to that answer is because we haven't seen any yet.
I mean, technically, Magna technically is a stranger.
Magna is a stranger ruler. He just has them in his main deck. So Michael, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Feel free to shame me to death if I'm wrong. The idea that we've talked about in a previous podcast is, if you think about it set design wise with these 3 rulers, it's a step away from having the power of the ruler be outside of the ruler. And it's also a step back to having truly unique ruler identity based around a concept, mechanic, and playstyle. And we couldn't jump from DBV, or we couldn't jump from new Valhalla extra deck to no extra deck, and so Strangers have been kind of like stepping us down, and so this set we're kind of seeing the culmination of that step down in power, away from the rulers having the power back on the rulers themselves in a non-generic way. But that, again, we still have a ruler in this set that interacts with Strangers, and it's a 100 card set. So we'll have to, it's a 125 card set with 100 new cards. So we'll have to see exactly how much when we get to, I imagine the end of this week, we get the end of the first round of Gil Lapis support. So next week, we probably start seeing the Magnus support, which means we'll probably start to see new Strangers at that point. So Sylvia, she back.
So this is a good card.
It's a good card. Even outside of Gil Lapis, this is a good card.
I'm gonna play Impresia. She seems good.
2-drop 7/7 with swiftness seems great. One thing to note is that we have been clarified, and I will stand corrected on the concept of limit break. The limit break is a divider for everything else that's below it. So if a card has limit break, the text below limit break does not exist on the card unless you have limit broken that card. So that being said, by herself, she's a natural 2-drop 7/7 with swiftness. You can pay Moon to give her extra additional attack. But if you limit break her, she gains flying +3/+3, and in a callback kind of to her OG 2-drop green-red effect, she gets to deal damage equal to its attack to target J Resonator your opponent controls when she attacks. So doing something to try to get rid of a blocker or stop something from being able to block when she first declares her attack.
You talking about that callback just made me realize that this card, when limit broken, is exactly Sylvia's flip side on her original, except attacking instead of whenever she enters. Yeah.
Yes.
That's adorable, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. This card limit broken is Sylvia's J Ruler enter on swing.
The Wanderer solidarity. Yeah. Now give us an actual ban list. Anyway.
Zing! There we go. I really like this card. I think outside of Gil Lapis, this card will see play. I think in Gil Lapis, this card will see play. I think the biggest thing, again, that we're going to need to focus on with Gil Lapis is how important his J Ruler side is to maintaining and continuing the game. I saw this card and I stopped being as concerned about his J Ruler side being so necessary. Because this card is very, very good. The nice thing, however, is that you cannot use his Regalia to pay for her pump effect.
Can't be used for activated abilities?
Cannot. Minions, Mage Arts, and God's Arts. That's it.
But you can use it to play her on his front side, which means that you can go turn 1, play the Regalia, limit break Sylvia, tap, play the Sylvia that's been limit broken, swing 10.
That's correct. Although she'll have to. She does properly, unlike original Sylvia, she does properly say your opponent controls. So she can't.
Bad call back. I want to kill my own Sylvia with Sylvia.
So she can't seppuku herself, which would be the worst way to be able to counter this card of just having them do that swing and then have her shoot herself in the air and then burn herself to death. So Victoria, Dore, how's it going? Do you think all these smaller cards with removal will be more powerful once rotation comes around, since we'll be dealing with less big removal from DBV? I don't think so. Because actually, I think if you look at a lot of Alice Origins cluster, our most efficient removal has come from this cluster.
Yep. Literally everything. Like, obviously Sylvaneth is the first one that'll come to mind when we think about it. But we've got stuff like Sacred Waveblade, Bloody Break, Valentina's front side.
Optical Camouflage,
and Bewildering Charm to go along with that. Like, we've got so much efficient removal right now.
Schrodinger's Cry.
DBV gave us the most powerful cards that abused it, aka, everything good.
Yeah, all the good removal is based in Alice Origins, to be perfectly honest. Let's talk a little bit about her spell. So We've got Steven. Hey, Steven, welcome. Shouldn't you be asleep? I don't know what time it is right now. Where you are. But anyway, Sylvia's Burning Flame, 1-drop quick cast Moon Art. Choose one. If you control Limit Break Sylvia, choose up to 2 instead. Target J Resonator gains +8 attack, first strike, precision, pierce until end of turn, and this card deals 800 damage to target J/Resonator. So there is an important thing that we have to discuss here. You do not need to control the Resonator to get this card's choose 2 effect. Because of the definition and the language that we see on this card, at least as far as we can tell, the concept of Limit Break is that you will gain an item titled Limit Break, name of that Resonator, much in the same way that you would gain a Water Emblem or a Fire Emblem or a Crimson Emblem. Or I don't remember, whatever.
Vermilion, buddy. Come on.
Vermilion, sorry. Vermilion Emblem.
Get on the Lord of Vermilion train. Come on. I was a Fushi man before this.
Okay. So that being said, if you have if you have declared Limit Break for Sylvia, this spell is technically better. So it's not a limit broken spell, it's just a bonus to this spell if you've declared it. That's important for people to understand because we also have the Lenneth card that we're going to talk about here in a little bit that has the same kind of wording. So it's just important for people to know you don't have to control the Resonator. You just have to control the thing that says they're limit broken to get this spell better. I like this spell a lot. I'm really glad it doesn't pump up the butt.
Yep.
I think
although it gives first strike, so it essentially pumps up the butt.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it doesn't mean Fushi doesn't work anymore. You're not wrong. So the other thing to note here is that we're in a format right now where pump spells are kind of bad. In general,
there's so much efficient removal.
Because again, the previous things that we've talked about, efficient removal, right? The reason why we see Pharesia see so much influence is because Pharesia has barrier, and most of the time Pharesia is going to be pumping herself up. Trying to commit this spell, commit to this spell for one, is just not what I think you're going to be doing. I think that
I just don't think that you want to take up a deck space, and I don't think you want to pay. Even though it's a Moon Art and you can pay for it using the tap ability of World Ender, you really don't need it.
Right.
It's just not worth the space it takes up in your deck. If you're playing an aggressive deck and you want to sideboard into it to have an aggressive thing against somebody with less removal, go ahead. That might actually be a good thing. But it's just less effective removal than the removal we have in the game right now. It's a pump spell that's not good because of how much removal there is.
Right.
And even with mode selected. Also, a fun story, if you have one thing with 800 defense on the board and you want to pump it, and your opponent controls nothing, you have to target your thing with the 800 because it's not your opponent controls.
Because it does say choose up to 2.
Oh, okay, whatever.
So it's not terrible in that rate. It's not Sudoku. It's not seppuku Sylvia on a body. The number of times that I have forced a Sylvia player to kill their own Sylvia on enter is numerous. That being said, I do want to talk about we're kind of coming to the last card spoiled, and you will notice that we have not talked about every single card. That's because I don't think every single card is worth talking about right now. I really just want to talk about cards that I think we can have a good conversation about, because the Dark Alice reveal multiple cards spells, okay, that's Dark Alice support, whatever. We're
not talking about the doggos.
We're also not talking about the doggos for a lot of the reasons we've just previously talked about. We have super really efficient removal. I don't care how big they get. I can kill them with one. Meh. But I do want to talk about our second Marvel Rare, Lenneth. So, first off, our first Resonator that has Moon in its casting cost, which is very interesting.
Which is nuts. We've never seen that before.
Never seen that before. That's brand new. Second, it's our second Marvel Rare, and drastically different in terms of raw, first time you look at it, power than Schrodinger. In the sense of the community immediately saw Schrodinger and went, Herder, Sigurd, Herder. And I get it. But looking at Lenneth, right?
I'm looking at Lenneth.
Oh yeah, you look at her.
Big mommy energy.
But like, this to me gives me hope about Marvel Rares, right? I think that there's a little bit of concern, like we've said, with Sigurd, and I think Schrodinger's Cry surprisingly really counters the, or any of our efficient removal really counters the Sigurd combo that people are talking about. You just got to be like aware that it exists, and then you can stop it. But like, now that we've seen 2 of the Marvel Rares, if they continue on this trend, I'm not terribly concerned about them, because I think that when I look at her as a card, I think if you're playing Gil Lapis, you probably play 2 of her, in the same vein as how Dark Alice played 2 Schrodinger, right? Like, you want to be able to, if you draw 1, still have 1 in the deck to flip into Gil Lapis. I think her best value comes from Gil Lapis. That being said, let's talk about her. So she's a 3-cost 10/10 with Drain and Bane. There's that.
Drain Bane.
They're always together in some way. And that's all she is if you haven't limit broken her. And then if you control a limit break for her, she gains flying and barrier from resonators. And she chooses 1. She gains an enter effect. Destroy target Regalia, destroy all stranger resonators, or reveal the 12 apostles from outside the game and put it into the field. So the strength of the first one, destroy a Regalia. We already have Regalia removal that's pretty efficient. The strength of the second one, destroy all stranger resonators. This is not bad, but we have other board wipes, right?
Yep.
As we've already
reveal
talked
12
about.
apostles.
Right. Reveal 12 apostles. That begs the question of what 12 apostles, right? Are they reprints?
These sound like these might be reprints.
Are they reprints? Are they new ones? Is it a blend of reprints and new ones? Like that's interesting to me, right? And the interesting part, the strongest part of that line is from outside the game, right?
Yeah.
So they come from
sideboard.
So they come from sideboard.
Like,
yeah. So that's the biggest piece there, right? Is a lot of selection and not having to worry about having them in your hand. You can just play, like, if there's like, say, there's 3 really good 12 apostles, right? You just take 3 of your sideboard slots for 1 of each of them, and then you play Lenneth and pick the one you need. We got to just find out. Yep. I think that she's really good on her own for that regard. I think that her optimum playing is going to be flipping off Gil Lapis and putting her into play. So that you can do what you need to do. But let's talk about her spell that came with her, because I definitely think we're going to see a trend with Gil Lapis. I think at this point it's pretty obvious to see the trend of minion spell. So we get Lenneth's spell, which is Dark Summoning. 1-drop quick cast, black, moon art. Draw a card. That's its text. If you control the limit break side of her, search your deck for a card and put it into your hand instead. So a 1-drop find anything, a quick cast speed, put it in your hand instead, then shuffle your deck. Now, I do want to point out something here that's pretty interesting, and I just kind of had this thought while we were talking about it. And then I'm going to go into some questions here real quick. So Gil Lapis's flip effect says, you grab a minion and gain limit break of that minion in 1 fell swoop. His front side says gain triggers for gaining limit breaks of minions, right? And as we've already talked about, his flip side does not have will filtering for minions. So my question becomes, based on the minions we see, based on the potential casting cost, if Allosaurus and Blazer are both red in base in some way, then all of these minions are minions that you are probably going to want to be potentially grabbing off of the flip or only casting from your front side, right? So when I see this spell, when I think of the concept of if you've limit broken Lenneth, this card becomes bonkers, my first thought is, oh, well, if you limit break Lenneth early, then this card just becomes pay 1, search for any copy of any card that you want, even if you can't get to the Lenneth. And then I think of the concept of, okay, but what if I flip? I want to be grabbing Lenneth, and then I haven't limit broken another thing because I've already limit broken Lenneth. That to me is the big trade-off of this card. Like, is the fact that I can potentially early on have 4 Scry 4s, or have four essentially copies of any other card I want in my deck, worth the fact that my flip from Gil Lapis is going to cut me off from a different card? Because you are probably almost always, if you have it, going to go get Lenneth off of Gil Lapis's flip. And so that to me, I'm not sure, because then otherwise this card is just pay 1, draw 1, which is like,
okay,
meh. Like, okay, I get it. Pay 1, search for anything seems great, but again, how much are you going to commit losing potentially? Like, are you going to do this early and then not be able to judgment into your Gil Lapis because Gil Lapis can't call himself on flip? Are you going to do this early and then not be able to play the Sylvia super early? Are you going to do, like, when are you going to do it, right? There's a lot of things that go into it, because also I think ultimately the strength of this card comes down to how many ways Gil Lapis can get limit breaks, right? Because if his only way to get limit breaks is off of his Regalia entering and off of the flip, I think this card is mediocre.
Yep, I can agree with that. But I also think that this card might enable some pretty spicy deck building, which is, I think, one of the biggest things.
Correct. Absolutely correct. I think that if you want to play some really spicy Gil Lapis builds where you're not going all in on the minions and you want to build like a combo Gil, this card is great. Because then you're probably just you're gonna call Lenneth super early just to be able to trigger this card and get it to move.
I just feel as Moofin said, pay 1, search for an answer. Yep. Good control tool. Yep. Game just needs to be slightly slower.
I don't think the game is really as fast as people are thinking. I might be wrong, but like,
you might be wrong.
I might be wrong. But like in watching the games that I saw at Collinsville, like,
well, that's altered games are not a good indicator.
No. I'm not talking timeline wise. I'm talking like actual number of turns wise. Like, we saw games go to like turn 6, 7, 8, 9. Again,
alter is not a good.
I'll concede the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't need 50-minute game ones. You're not wrong.
Fact.
So I'm trying to see if there's any other card that I really want to talk about here tonight, because we've hit most of them.
50-minute game one does normally come down to the alter player big braining, like, brain blast, and then suddenly they know what to pull out of their deck.
Oh, I do want to say this card is neat. The summoning the minion Moonbeam, I think is kind of cool as a card. The pay 1, it's our new X spell with a mage art. One cost plus X. Go search for a minion, put it into the field, and then shuffle your deck. This is probably a good card for Gil Lapis once he's flipped, right? So that he can still keep getting those minions that might be different costed, which I think is probably a necessary tool for him to have based on how you want to build the deck. Ultimately, though, lots of really cool stuff.
Yeah, I think the card is probably too slow to see play, though it being a moon art is nice.
Yeah,
if you have the way to ramp up into it. But I think, personally speaking, I got my doubts about it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's been the thing about the spoilers, I think. Oh, Todd, let me explain. Marvel Rares are, as far as we know, a new rarity of card above super rare. This set has, I believe it's either 19 or 18, 19 or 20 super rares. I don't have the number in front of my head, in front of my face to be able to confirm that. And then 5 Marvel Rares, which is a new rarity of card above super. There are 5 different Marvel Rares. We've seen 2 of them. Lenneth was spoiled today, and Schrodinger. We don't know what the other 3 are. As far as we can tell, because we've seen the fact that they come full art and non-full art, it's a safe assumption to say that they aren't alt art chase rares, that they are actually standalone cards. And we also have no idea how many per box. Oh, 15 supers. Thank you very much, Yormichi.
5 Marvels might have been included in the
initial. So we had 20, and now we have 15 and 5. which I think also gives me hope for the fact that we're going to only 15 supers
Well,
instead of
guys, Jared's
19.
being helpful about things.
Oh God, I'm such a shill. Oh no, man. I can't say anything bad about the company. I'm such a shill. Anyway, sorry. Thank you very much, Yorimichi, for confirming that it's 15. I think that gives me a lot more credence, but I'll talk about that here as we close. But they are I think it's pretty safe to say that they are not alt art versions of other super rares. They are a standalone rarity. The way you can tell is that in the will symbol, I'll pull it back up here. So we have a normal here that has silver. You look at a super rare, it has gold up here behind the will cost. And then you look at a Marvel rare, and it is rainbow. I, for one, can't wait to see what the rainbow looks like foil. Right? I, for one, can't wait to see what that looks like. I think it looks very nice. Jeremy has drank too much. He's starting to say the truth. But so they are. We have not yet been told or seen how many Marvel rares per box. We have, it's kind of like a mythic. We just don't. We just don't know how many per box. The popular theory that I have spoken about publicly is the best case scenario is 4 per box, because that
trashing the community complaining over something. What? No.
So
no, they wouldn't do that to us.
The best case scenario is that we get 4 per box, 1 full art and 3 non-full art. This would match ratios that we've seen with super rares, whereas in the 20-pack boxes, we saw 8 full arts and 8 non-full arts and 3 full art super rares with 19 total super rares in the set. That ratio of 3-to-1 is pretty common, or close to, right? So with Marvel rares, it would get you 1 full art and 3 non-full art Marvel rares per box, which means 24 per case, which means that you most likely get a full play set. If not, you got a lot of 6 and 3s, or 5 and 3s, or 6 and 2s, which gives you enough Marvel rares above the 20 that you would need for a full playset to trade for the ones that you need. Second best scenario is 3 per box, which leaves you at 18, which is just a little bit under a full playset, but probably gives you plenty of extra super rares to trade for the last 2 that you need to be able to finish out your collection. Worst case scenario is 1. I don't think that's probable, considering the fact that we've seen that they are both full art and non-full art. That was a pretty big invocation. So we'll have to see. Ultimately, we'll have to see what happens and everything else. Force of Will has, from the very beginning, been very, very good about their set production ratios, in terms of usually if you buy X amounts of product, you will have a full playset. That number has increased over the years. We went from 3 boxes of 36 packs to 5 boxes of 36 packs to 7 boxes of 20 packs to now full case. Full case is pretty common. But if they stick to that grounding, which I have no indication to believe that they aren't sticking to that grounding, a case will probably get you your full play set of Marvel rares. We'll just have to see. I will be cracking open a full case of the set to be able to, and I'll probably be doing a lot of it live to see if we can find out what that ratio is when the set comes out. But we'll have to see.
Deepwood Boys and I are going to be all together cracking a case as well. So,
let's see. Try to see if there's any other questions here. Yeah, most of the time it's full playset for a case. I opened up all total Alice Origins 3. I opened up a pre-release kit, a case, and 3 boxes. So I opened up 14 boxes of Alice Origins 3. And I walked away with just shy of 2 full play sets. So,
damn, CCG Prime saying Vin 2 should be a reprint of OG Valhalla. I would also love a full Vingolf set of useless cards. We just had that Ghost in the Shell.
Hey, excuse me, Boersma, Tron Stones. The 2-drop major.
Don't pretend like the Tron Stones are doing anything.
The 2-drop major for. Okay, if you don't think that there are some people out in this community / for the channel, we ain't building Tron Stone Gil Lapis minions, you straight up wrong.
Imagine playing Gil and not getting the Regalia triggers. Look at this man's.
Can I get confirmation that Gil Lapis is actually the protagonist in a harem anime?
Correct.
Woof! I don't know if I could answer that question. I'm a Gil Lapis cosplayer. I don't know if I should answer that.
I can answer that. Yes.
There you go.
His moon art is density.
Huff. Unfortunately, I do have to get my Gil Lapis cosplay repaired already. Just after Collinsville. A small piece of the jewelry broke, but we can get it fixed. We can get it fixed. That will be making its appearance at future GPs. I really am a fan of that cosplay, though. I'm a big fan of it.
Me too.
And it's also not body armor or 9 tails, so
crazy how that works. I know.
Big win. I do.
No, we'll just set you up with a Bahamut cosplay.
Stop it. You pay for it. I'll tell you what, Mike. You pay for it. High quality. I'll do it.
Boy thinks I'm made of money. I'm not the one making money off of this fucking podcast.
See, now you're the one not holding up your end, right? I've committed. Now look what you do.
You've committed to me giving you money.
That's I mean, we have already established that I'm a pretty big shill. Speaking of, that is going to call it for tonight for us. It has been a wonder. I've been looking to see if we have any more comments or questions. It doesn't seem like we have any more pouring in. As I'm doing my outro, feel free to ask them. We'll catch them here at the end. This has been a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much for enjoying. If you liked us doing these more kind of off the cuff, casual streams where we talk about spoilers or anything else, and maybe want to see us pop it into something not the Teacher's Lounge or something like that, let us know in the comment sections down below. It's definitely something that we can look into. Being able to do more shows is something that we can do, thanks in part to a lot of our members, because it means that we can kind of spend more time and kind of streamline the rest of the process, get better equipment, get better programming and stuff like that, to be able to make the rest of the production of content here go faster so we can do more shows like this. But if you want to consider supporting us that way, you click that join button down below. You can always send super chats in the chat or anything else like that, or just consider subscribing and watching videos, because it's the easiest way to show us that you care and help us get doing things that you want us to do. So if you do that, you might not get boxes. Yeah, you probably should definitely buy boxes Babatunde, or at least pre-order them. Any words on Vite Nationals? I can't speak for Vite. Wow, Mike just left. I can't speak for Vite wholeheartedly. I have, however, can say that I have been discussing things with them with the nature of things, and they are still planning on continuing the Vite circuit. What it looks like for the rest of this year into next year is definitely kind of up in the air with everything going on with COVID. But they have not waned in their
although with
Oxford
love. Doing the trials on the vaccines, who knows? Maybe we'll finally get some with the rate that they're going right now.
But
here's hoping.
Regardless, Vite is still very much committed to Force of Will. They are still all very big fans of it, and they want to see it coming forward. Just have to wait and kind of see what they come out with. I'm not going to speak to their business plan outside of that, because it's not my world. But that is it for us for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I have been myself, Jeremy Franklin, and I have been joined by not Mike. I have been joined by Mike Rance, but not
that's me.
Not Ryan Miles, not Derek, not Brandon, not Patton. But I have been joined by Mike Rance, and we will see you all next time. So until then, class dismissed. Have a good night, everybody.